Wow.
Just Oregon, and I have nobody. None of us know anyone in Oregon.
All
All right,
right.
guys, we are live.
All
Thanks
right.
for joining us this week. We are continuing our 1980 Summer of '82 series here at Video Store Rejects. I am here with a little feedback. I'm here with Nick.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you, sir? I'm here with. Sorry, guys, it's kicking in. Sorry, guys, excuse me. I'm a little loopy today. I'm on some meds for toothache, so please forgive me if I drop off or I forget things. But anyway, I'm here
You
with
might
Nick.
start seeing ghosts.
Yes, if I start having hallucinations, I'm going to have to bow out. But I'm here with Nick. Adam, who has decided to join us. Hi, Adam. He's a longtime friend and listener on the Facebooks there. We have Andrea. Did I pronounce that right?
That's right.
Andrea. Nice.
Yes.
Not seen is my wife. You'll hear her come in a minute. She is the voice that sits to the right of me and who fact checks things. So
Did
she'll
she
be
get-
coming in.
Did she get lost in the TV, Chris? Did Lindsay going to the other side?
Well, if she did. She better be ready to look
in the
some stuff
closet.
up. And we're here with Cody, my co-host Cody. So how are you this morning?
Hey, everybody. Adam, thank you so much for coming on our show to talk this movie. Is it Andrea or Andrea? How do I say that correctly?
Or Andrea.
Andrea?
We're from Texas.
Uh-huh.
We got to work our slang into everything. So is it Andrea?
Well,
Andrea?
I'd say it's
very
just
nice
plain
to
Drea.
meet you, and also thank you for
Just call me
coming
Drea.
on. Drea. Well, Drea, nice to
Yes.
meet you, and thank you for being on the show.
Yeah,
All right.
Dre
Thank
and
you
I
for
have
having
been
me.
longtime friends, and we watched this movie. We watched the original Poltergeist months ago.
I adore this movie. I know it may not be everyone's cup of tea, but it's a fun movie. This movie used to scare the living crap out of me. And again, we're talking 1982's Poltergeist. I believe, I know director Tobe
Hooper.
Tobe
Yes.
Hooper of Texas
Yes.
Chainsaw Massacre fame.
Yeah.
and Steven Spielberg, which
Yep.
you know, there's the
Written
whole
and produced by Steven
There's-
Spielberg. And go ahead, Adam.
And well, he had a lot to do with it. The rumor of him directing it is totally bunk. I have a
okay.
secondhand source that says that it was all Tobe Hooper, but he wasn't allowed to direct it in '82 because he was directing E.T. at the same time in the same
Yeah.
neighborhood,
Right.
and
That
So-
makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Because there are all the I also watched E.T. just recently, and I remember there's a lot of all of these suburb shots that were establishing shots for the movie, and I thought it was kind of the same. It kind of had the same kind of feel in the beginning. Of course, they went in completely different directions, and
Right.
also this was the start of Steven Spielberg becoming a major producer and basically putting his name on everything, and it just turns into gold. Like all the stuff that was produced by Steven Spielberg in the 80s, the Goonies, off the top of my head,
Back to the Future.
Back to the
Gremlins.
Future.
Yeah. And
Marketing feedback loop. So he puts his name on it. More money comes in. He gets the money. Puts more money into the movies. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and this is
So-
his first big producing role.
Mhm.
He did 3 other movies before that, and they're movies nobody's ever heard of. So, but you can
What is it,
see
1941?
in 1941
Well,
he directed
that.
Oh, you're talking about just producing.
just producing, yeah.
Okay.
But you can really see his influence in the opening scene, especially with the kids playing with the remote control cars. It's almost like
Yeah.
they're kids from Jaws. It's almost like the cinematography is almost right from Jaws.
Right.
But if you look at the lighting, like inside the kitchen or outside the daytime, it's muted, more of a Tobe Hooper Texas Chainsaw coloring. So I'm still in the Hooper camp.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I don't know if you guys know who Eric Vespi is. He's a critic, blogger. He has a Stephen King podcast, and apparently he got to meet Zelda Rubinstein, and she debunked the whole Spielberg thing and didn't have a lot of nice things to say about Tobe Hooper.
Ooh.
She, of course, played the medium in the movie.
Whoops.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she was basically in all three movies, along with Heather O'Rourke, right?
Yeah, and everyone apparently loved Zelda Rubinstein. She was just apparently she was a big she was really into the guys on set, and they were kind of flirting back with her. It was a good time.
Yeah.
I'd say it like I was there, but
But you talk
If
about
I
it
was
feeling
there,
like
I would have been like 2 years old, like a insufferable little shit who just liked seeing glass break.
I
That
did
was
not.
my terrible twos.
I was 3 years old when this movie came out, and I was dragged to the theater by my mother, and scarred for life. But as you can see, it's made a
Formative
horror
moments.
fan out of me. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I give all the credit to my three older sisters for, picking up those horror movies at the video store for my love. Now I wasn't just like instantly a huge fan. I was like you. I was scarred a lot of times. I was scared to death. My parents decided it was a good idea to give me a My Buddy doll for Christmas one year.
oh god.
What do? They go and rent the first few Child's Play movies, and of course, who's going to sit up and watch it with him, and who's going to let him? So yeah, that's I give the credit to my three sisters.
See, my first exposure to Poltergeist was actually I originally saw the third movie in its many times when it was rerun on HBO or something. I didn't see the original until maybe 1 or 2 years later when I caught a broadcast version of that.
Nice.
So, what scarred you guys the most? The tree?
it was
The
it was the hands.
The hands. Oh
The
yeah,
face.
that's
Mainly because when I saw it originally, I wasn't allowed to see it. Like my mom would cover my eyes every time, and it was like a big no for me to watch it. So when I finally did, I'm like, wow. And it still does from time to time, even though it's a animatronic head and it's Spielberg's hands, and it's just like, all right, this is dumb, but it's got that deep remembrance in it in my brain that it's like that.
well. Thank
And
you for
the beast in the hallway.
Oh yeah! Wow!
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
definitely creepy.
Yeah.
So,
This
Drea,
is very not gory, but it's pretty. This is a very
intense.
strong PG rated movie, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, remember the PG-13 rating was probably 3 years away.
Yep.
yeah.
PG-13
Which
was
Spielberg-
not a thing yet.
Which
Yep.
Spielberg would bring about with Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom and Gremlins.
Yeah. No.
Drea, what was your scary? What was your key
Your
scary
scarring
moments of that movie?
Scarring moments. So for Poltergeist specifically, anything that has to do with like the uncanny valley. So the tree was part of it, specifically its branches. But I have to go low. I have to go low for this one. The clown. Like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the worst.
Oh,
I mean,
my God.
totally.
Like, it's the most obvious, but that really was the worst part of it for me. Everything else, there's some distance, right? I can put my shield up, right? But
Right.
the clown, I can't.
I don't know if you guys read the first draft of the script, but it's really dark.
I haven't read
One
Really?
Carol Ann dies.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah, the clown bites Robbie when he gets the thing for his
Yeah.
birthday at a birthday party.
Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff was cut out just so he could get a PG rating, because the original idea was to have E.T. and Poltergeist come out at the same time, be like a double feature for Spielberg.
Oh yeah, that's.
So
I
yeah,
think that was a
you
good.
can't have-
That was a good move on Spielberg's part. I'm gonna have to say. Okay, my key scary parts. It was the face it was the scene that led to the face peeling scene, but it wasn't the face peeling scene proper.
The steak.
Yeah, the steak
Oh,
and the steak and the chicken. Oh, yeah.
okay. Well, that
For a while,
guy.
I could not eat.
I did have to.
I could not eat
step
chicken.
away
And
from
I love. Oh God, I'm just. Yes. Who
it
does
is
not love
gross.
fried chicken?
I'm gonna
Right.
step away from that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
you know,
gross,
being
but
a
that
kid,
guy. Go ahead, Chris.
being a kid that grew up going to the fridge like at midnight when everyone else was, at sleep.
Oh, God.
That got to me
That's
too.
real.
Yeah, I was teased a lot by my uncle and stuff about that scene. He was like, "Don't go to the fridge in the middle of the night. The poltergeists are there."
Oh man,
God.
Well,
Yeah, you had those kinds of uncles, the ones who love fucking with you.
Yep.
yeah, my best friend did that with me. Now I'm not gonna get onto it because we're on Poltergeist, but it involves it and being able to, like, he would, when I would stay the night, I would use their guest bathroom, and he would go to their upstairs. I mean, maybe it was the other downstairs bathroom, and he could speak into the sink, and the voice would carry.
No.
And you could hear it out of the sink in the guest bedroom, and
Big no.
that tormented me. That scarred me for a
Oh
long
my
time.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jaws made me scared of the toilet
High
as a
pitched
kid.
laughter coming out of the sink drain. Yeah. No, I'm good. No thanks.
and that's not before. Like, after that, he crawled into the bedroom. I was on a day bed, and he crawled up under the bed and pulled the box springs down, so it felt like someone was sitting in the bed with me. And I looked up, and I felt the box springs like pull down in the mattress sink, and I was like, "What in the hell is going on here?"
That's some next level shit right there.
Like,
Yeah, that's
Wow.
we are
Right,
eight,
that's
we are eight, 9 years old.
Dedicated.
Yeah,
But
Still
I'm gonna say, to the poltergeist defense, that dude was being not a nice house guest. Who eats a steak in the middle of the night and just lays it on the counter too? Just,
Well, it was 82, so there was no salmonella.
it didn't exist.
that dude probably,
Yes.
with what he's seen, he's probably like, you know what?
And
I'm cooking a steak. This house is haunted. They probably don't want the food anyway. I'm cooking it.
have to cook it before it goes bad.
Yeah,
Well, it was right after they saw the bedroom. They're like, well, let's just do anything we want to do now.
right.
I do love that scene with the bedroom where the other guy's like, "Oh, I caught this thing moving at this
The
speed, but the naked eye couldn't see it." And Craig T. Nelson's like, and then just opens the door.
Okay. We've already made the ET connection, but as a huge fan of Ghostbusters, I have made some loose headcanon connections as well. Like,
Well, the
You know,
ectoplasm for sure, right?
Yeah.
the ectoplasms, the beast
And
in the
then-
hallway looks like something that you would see.
It looked like the ghost in the arch at
Yeah,
Lincoln Square.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah,
the monster in it looks much like the beast in Ghostbusters at a lot of
Right.
way.
I gotta tell you. Oh,
Sorry, I just want to ask a question. Did anyone in the film production team explain how they made that ectoplasm? I'm curious.
I don't know. It's very chunky.
Bullshit.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like, okay, what
That's-
kind of chunks are those?
Ask Jackass.
Who did they have to eviscerate to get those chunks?
Probably
I don't
just
know,
a lot of
there's
horse
like
hooves.
you could probably
Some
do it
carrots.
like
There has to be
making
corn syrup is involved for sure, as
Some
a
sort of
base,
Mhm.
gelatin.
and then some sort of jelly. Yeah,
yeah. The kind of gelatin they use to make I guess body doubles. I can't. I don't.
Oh, the
remember- I don't
ballistics
know.
gel.
Yeah, the ballistics gel,
Yeah.
and then they just did the whole mixing glue in with all this other stuff for the slime. Because they make kits now. How to
Mhm.
slime kits for
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for school now.
it's,
So
it's a STEM thing for the kids.
Yeah, and
Ghost hunting stem.
so. Speaking of Ghostbusters, it kind of reminds me. I actually wrote a fan script of a ghost. It's like it's basically a Ghostbusters DFW script. It's just it focuses on this one Ghostbuster who gets called into gets called into South Lake. For those of you who don't know, South Lake is a very rich, snooty suburb in DFW, and he gets called in because there are reports of the kids seeing a monster under the bed, and they're used to kind of calls like this, and they come in and they comfort the kids, and then the PKE meter goes off like crazy, and he calls for backup. He calls it as a code Carol Ann.
Nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of Ghostbusters, I know you can't see it, but my proton pack is off frame right now, and it's just. I think I can turn.
Yeah, if guys, that's where I met Adam.
I see it.
Is through the Ghostbusters group. Sorry, guys. Shh.
Yeah. Gee, I just have my degrees up there.
Show your dog.
I'm just in my kitchen, so you see a little bit of my wife's giant Wizard of Oz puzzle.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm in my bedroom. I have a few flash strips hanging from the ceiling.
Dude, nice. We ought to do Return to Oz someday. If
Nightmare Fuel.
Oh, yes.
It's going to be a whole series. Like
that movie gives me a Baron Munchausen vibe.
Oh,
I love
Well,
Baron
it
Munchausen.
predates Baron Munchausen by about 3 years.
Yeah. But it came out at the same time as Terry Gilliam's previous movie, Brazil.
Yep. Masterpiece.
Yeah.
Could do another one of that.
An unloved masterpiece, by the way. A lot of people don't even care about it, and it's a shame. It's one of Robert De Niro's best movies.
Oh. All right. So,
But
Trey,
Poltergeist.
Something?
I wanted to get your guys' opinion on the Indian burial ground reveal at the end.
It's not an Indian burial ground. That's what drives me crazy.
Right.
It was just a regular cemetery.
It was a cemetery full of Puritans.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Which
so
I think
there
is
was
revealed in the second movie, right?
Yeah. And it drives me crazy when everyone's like, it's an Indian burial ground, or watch out for the Indian burial ground. And I'm like, no, it's not. But that's just me.
Not, okay.
Yeah, it was just a regular cemetery that they moved the headstones, but not the bodies.
Yes.
Saving the money.
Don't.
And that has actually happened before, where companies have gone,
I think that's what.
Let's save the money and just leave them here. We'll move the headstones.
Yeah, and didn't they get? I remember reading about that. Didn't one of them get in trouble because I think they did some foundation repair and found a coffin?
Oh God.
Yeah.
It's like in Funny Farm.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Was that grave too shallow, or was the foundation just really, really deep?
I think the foundation is that deep.
But again, you got the real estate as the villains, the true villains in a Spielberg story. Just like in Jaws.
The true villain.
Dressed like the Jaws mayor.
We have more empty houses than homeless people in this country.
Yeah.
What do you do?
We're trying to get a house, but every time, I am not even exaggerating. Not even 24 hours after a house goes on market and we end up touring it and looking it over, it gets bought up. Like not even 24 or 48 hours later.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's kind of frustrating.
What's when you get on Zillow and talk about it being haunted and no one wants it?
Boom.
Oh yeah.
No.
I'm just trying to segue back to the movie.
Yeah.
Well, Adam, speaking of
it is a cautionary tale.
Yeah. Speaking of you talking about the darker elements of the original script, do you know who Steven Spielberg approached to try and write the screenplay? Which is weird.
And he was on an airplane, which is why he didn't even try. It was Stephen King.
Yeah. It is kind of weird these two guys have never worked together because they seem to be like the two most popular creators in America, right?
Yeah,
Well,
I know. And they both write like families and children and putting things in peril, and they're very parallel with their styles. And that's
we
kind of
see
what
the culmination in Stranger Things, right? That's
yeah,
like
you
what
kind of
if
do.
Spielberg directed a Stephen King story,
Yeah.
scored by John Carpenter.
And that's what I like about the at least the first act of Poltergeist the best, because you are lulled into this family and this goofy neighbor and all this stuff that's happening, and you're just really invested in the family before everything goes to hell. And I think that's what makes the movie a bit more powerful, because
Right.
you have this family dynamic that you've built on top of, which is the Spielberg way of writing things. And then you have the extreme Tobe Hooper, thrown in there, and it really makes you feel for the family and feel for Carol Ann and feel for Robbie.
Well,
No one
that's
cares
the
about
thing.
Dana.
I tell you,
Well,
let's
it's,
not.
yeah,
I'm-
it's
I'm
tragic
going
what
to-
happened to that actor, and
Oh, yeah.
brings
Yeah,
theories
absolutely.
of why this movie and I guess the franchise are cursed.
Okay, for those of you who are watching and who don't know, the franchise, the entire Poltergeist franchise is said to be cursed, and part of it is because Dominique Dunn, who played the older sister Dana, was murdered by her boyfriend in between the filming of Poltergeist 1 and 2. And I've looked it up, and if I remember correctly, to this day, her killer has not faced justice.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
Yeah,
wow,
he got off.
man.
We'll put it on the 2022 bingo card. I'm sure we'll find him. Didn't we find the Golden Gate Killer or one of those really old cold cases
Zodiac or
recently?
something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
somebody like
Zodiac Killer? No. I thought Ted
Oh.
Cruz was the Zodiac Killer.
But
Ted Cruz is the Zodiac Killer.
and
Ted
I know-
Cruz is the Zodiac
He heard
Killer.
it first.
He will never not be the
He will never
Zodiac
not be.
Killer.
Right, yeah.
I don't think he's that intelligent to be
It's
the
a joke.
Zodiac Killer.
So this came up a while back on the page, Nick. I think you had mentioned, or maybe I mentioned something and you asked about it.
Maybe.
But this it ties into a lot of like really horrible stories, especially that involve. It's really like Q nonsense that goes to her being
Oh, the whole molestation thing.
molested, and that's why she died. And that led to her complication.
Oh God! Yeah. You're talking about that conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
All the conspiracy theories, and I call them Q theories now, because if you even mention it, Tom Hanks. You even mentioned Tom Hanks online nowadays, and you're gonna have people like, well, Epstein and blah blah blah, and the gloves, and he he went to Greece to escape justice and blah blah blah. And I mean, it goes on and on and on. Please don't go down that rabbit hole.
Tom Hanks is
well-
an American treasure.
Yeah, he's
Yep.
Yeah.
Leave Tom Hanks alone.
Yeah,
He's
he's,
a
one of the
sweetheart.
few nicest
there
people
are
we have in
actual-
Hollywood.
There are
Yeah.
actual celebrity pedophiles that you could actually, go after. I mean,
Jeffrey
Kevin
what's it?
Spacey.
hell, R. Kelly just got sentenced yesterday.
Yeah.
I did hear about that, but
Jeff-
there have been a lot of
what's
issues
it?
around Poltergeist.
He was Ferris Bueller's principal.
Yeah, the real skeletons, the
Right.
people getting electrocuted on the pool set. There's a lot of bad things that happened on that set.
Helicopter blades.
Yeah.
You gotta.
Oh,
Speaking
God.
of,
Yeah, John Landis killed people.
Yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah,
the
get
sad thing is, he's still, I guess, considered a nicer guy than his son.
Ugh.
wow. Okay. I
I
haven't heard
don't
that.
like John Landis as a person. I've done interviews
Yeah.
with him, and he thinks he's bigger than he is.
Sidebar: I don't
He
know
was
if any
once
of you
upon a time, but after all that, I mean, who would want to work with a director who could possibly kill you?
and ignores the rules of unions and put 2 children in danger. Yeah.
What's the
Sidebar:
in your contract?
I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. It's from like 81 or 82. It's Mick Garris
Yeah.
interviewing John Carpenter, John Landis, and David Cronenberg.
Yeah.
And I believe they're promoting American Werewolf in London, The Thing, and I don't know if Cronenberg's promoting the Dead Zone or Videodrome that he's making. But when Landis is talking, you can see Cronenberg and Carpenter both looking at him like, "Who is this guy? Can he shut up?"
God.
And it was Mick Garris that was the secondhand report that I said that Tobe Hooper was the full director of the movie because he was on set all the time.
Well,
Okay.
yeah.
He's like, it's a Tobe Hooper movie. He directed it. Spielberg's a powerful producer, but it's a Tobe Hooper film.
Well, yeah.
Cool. I didn't know he was there, but I know he's tight with like all those filmmakers of that kind of get brushed aside from the Spielberg, Scorsese, Coppola's. Like there's that whole horror branch of baby boomer directors.
What was the book? Easy Riders and Raging Bulls. That was a fantastic. It was all about them.
I still need to read that one.
That's good.
Yeah,
but
that's when I found out that Lucas was involved with all of them too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there are a whole bunch of some of my favorite directors who aren't in that league. I mean, of course, we lost Richard Donner. I want to say it's almost a year ago.
That hurt.
Yes.
That hurt hard.
Yeah, well, it hurt, but at the same time,
Remember that
the man was 91 years old.
I didn't realize that when he passed too. I was like, oh wow, he was old.
Well,
I
that's
realize
he
he
had a TV career before
I was going
he
to
got
say,
into movies.
at that point, it's not a tragedy, it's a triumph.
Yeah, we have nostalgia.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
When we think about Richard Donner and we think about Spielberg and Lucas, we're looking at them through nostalgia glasses. And if you realize how old they are today, it's sad and it's frightening. And you're like, man, because I'm pushing. This is my last year in my 30s, and you look back at it. Not to be a downer, but we were talking about Richard Donner and how old. You didn't realize how old he was, and I'm like, well, just look at all of our favorites and realize how old they are. And man,
John Williams just said he's retiring from film scoring.
Isn't he almost 90?
He's in his 90s.
That's what I was thinking. I knew he was like quite a bit older than Spielberg. Speaking of sounding like Spielberg, Goldsmith's score sounds very much like something John Williams would do in a Spielberg movie too. Like that.
It is. Yeah.
Well, Jerry Goldsmith is, I kind of realizing him as an underrated composer.
Oh,
because
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because it's not only with Poltergeist, but Star Trek: The Motion Picture. He scored that one.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up. I was about to say I'm a huge soundtrack guy, and I was listening to when we were watching Poltergeist. There's a moment in there. I'm trying to pinpoint it because I turned to Lindsay and I was like, hey, I recognize some motion picture in there when they're flying into the cloud, when they're going to V'ger, and it's during the cloud sequence. I heard some of the same notes, and I was like, oh, okay. I always point out if I could hear it. I like to point out when they do reuse.
They borrow
music.
from themselves.
When they borrow from themselves, and you can hear it
in music
notes in other movies. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I do the same thing. I'm a big score guy.
Everyone loves a good pattern.
It's a small theme that will insert itself in key parts in the movie.
Right, like they reused. There's a speech in Kingdom of Heaven that he gives towards the end of the movie, and they use the theme. You can hear the main theme from. Sorry, guys, man, that medicine's making me loopy. It's Viking movie, older movie, Michael Crichton. You know what I'm talking about?
13th Warrior.
Yes, thank you, Adam. The 13th Warrior. They reused the theme from the 13th Warrior during his speech. And I always thought that's cool because you get to kind of relive that, and you're like, oh well, they can weave that into an entirely different movie in a different situation, and it's still as effective. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that Goldsmith's score lost to Williams' score for the Academy Awards for E.T. Like everything that Poltergeist was up for, E.T. beat out. So it was win-win for Spielberg.
Like
The
the
only thing that
lo-fi
could
is
defeat
the creepiest.
Spielberg is Spielberg.
Yeah.
Do you
Just
think
like,
it's just E.T.
just like
because
with-
it's a nicer story and it's a little more relatable?
I would say, yeah, that would. Of course,
I
it
mean,
did win Best Picture. Like,
how do you beat a John Williams score though, especially in the
That's
80s?
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
what are you gonna do?
The early 2000s, he was just rehashing everything that he ever made.
I guess he was the Michael Jordan of composers for the 80s.
Well, having gone through, marching band in the '90s and early 2000s, if you want to get the crowd up in your arm, you use John Williams music. John Williams is basically the bandsman's best friend, mainly because all of his movies you can hum after after you leave the theater, which is what I kind of wish. I feel it's kind of been lost in the current crop of movies.
Yeah.
Like, you only say with most movies you hear. Bah!
I blame Hans Zimmer for that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a Hans Zimmer
God.
score right
The biggest
there.
culprit.
Batman v Superman. It's like this old self-aggrandizing. This is so important. This is so important.
I think
It works though. It works.
I like
No, it
Giacono,
doesn't.
Michael Giacono's scores most of the time.
Yes,
Yes. He's
Yes.
becoming quite
It's
the
the
name.
gravity of the situation. Yeah.
he is. I think Michael Giacchino is the heir apparent to John Williams, honestly, because after I first saw The Incredibles, first thing I went to Hastings. I bought the soundtrack and I listened to it nonstop. I watched the scoring sessions. That music was like it was a breath of fresh air, I should say.
Right.
And I'm a big fan of Junkie XL too. Like he went from being a DJ to being one of the most versatile scoring.
Right.
His score for Fury Road was the greatest thing that ever happened.
Oh yeah, I love that soundtrack.
Yeah.
I think
Mark Mothersbaugh
Giacono
is,
I think he's coming for Elfman's title for most Superman movie scores.
Although Elfman still got it, man. And Multiverse of Madness was an amazing score.
Yeah, actually, I'm surprised because after Spider-Man 3, Elfman said he would not work with Sam Raimi again. 'Cause I think Sam Raimi kind of got a swelled head after the success of the first two Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Did you guys happen to see Elfman? Did you guys happen to see Elfman perform at Lollapalooza?
I did not. I heard about it though.
Was it just Elfman, or did he bring Oingo Boingo back together?
No, I think it was just Elfman. He didn't. It wasn't Oingo Boingo, but he played all of his greatest soundtrack hits.
I'm not a big fan of his newer stuff.
Jamming out to it. It's like, oh, that's you. They didn't make the connection that it was Danny Elfman who was doing that. But yeah, he was shirtless and he was like jamming, and oh god, it was amazing. I'd have to show you the video later.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of his new album because it's crazy, just like Danny Elfman would be. But I'm so happy that he's singing again because he said he wouldn't because he was going deaf, and I guess he had some sort of surgery or something. But he's doing great now. So
that's
great. I'm glad he's better. That would be a shame to the world.
Yeah,
being involved in music, I can tell you right now, your ears are the most precious thing in the world. If they start to go, it's almost like it's all over.
I'm partially.
Beethoven kept it going.
I understand that. I have to listen to everything like extra loud, and when we go to the movies, I've got to be like right in the. People think, oh, you're just being a snob because you want the middle seat. And I'm like, no, dude. If I have to have the middle seat so I can like catch everything because Yeah, that's one of my greatest fears is losing all of my hearing. I would go crazy.
Well, I mean, some people do have trouble processing things, processing a lot of audio,
Yeah.
especially if there's a lot of stuff going on all at once.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong with these connections with E.T. and Poltergeist, not just that Spielberg's involved and they both take place in the suburbs of California, but didn't Heather O'Rourke and Drew Barrymore both test out for Carol Ann and the little
Yes.
sister in E.T.?
Yes.
Yeah.
That I didn't know.
Yeah, Drew Barrymore really wanted to be Carol Ann. And there's pictures of them. There's pictures of both casts on the same street, hanging out with each other. So
Yeah.
that's kind of cool.
Actually, that kind of even solidifies that one fan theory that those families just both the families from both movies just hung out together.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Spielberg verse.
Yeah, they were classmates because they were all really about the same age. Like it
Yeah.
seems like
Yeah.
Carol Ann and Gertie would have gone to the same daycare, and their moms might have known each other, and so I love that aspect. You got you have Elliot dealing with ET and all of that, and you got the other family just like going through hell,
Going through their own trauma. Yeah.
Yes.
I
And the
guess with-
parallels between their lives are very, very similar. It's almost like Poltergeist is like the dark ET. And that shows why he wanted to do it as a double feature.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
There will be something that is that will probably be lost on modern audiences, and that is the TV sign off at the beginning.
Yeah, I was about to say, does anyone know when that quit happening or when most
Hey.
households had cable TV?
Okay, listen, I was born in 83, but some of my earliest, and no joke, some of my earliest TV memories are our local Channel 7 signing off at midnight.
Yeah.
And they would play the national anthem. There would usually be a flag.
Yeah.
Or sometimes, you'd have the Native American up there. I think that was a little bit earlier, but you'd have the flag, they'd play the national anthem, and then it would go static until early morning. And that's I can actually remember that because I have a weird memory, but
well, actually, I know. I remember watching, staying up late and watching TV sign-offs too, because KTVS, they didn't do the national anthem for the longest time. Instead, they had this one guy who's soulfully singing Southern melodies, he's singing Dixie. It's
that's
I wish I was in Dixie.
Oh God, that's frightening.
Wow.
that's the South for you there, buddy.
With all of these
The national anthem. We're going to play our own national anthem.
with this backgrounds of the Louisiana swamplands or something.
Oh God.
It is on. Somebody uploaded it to YouTube. I will put up a link later.
Wait, listen, we are basically East Texas / Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think because it feels like we're in the swamp right now?
We're
today?
close. Yeah, we're
Rain?
Is it humid over there where you are?
Oh
Yeah.
God, yes.
We are swimming
No, it's
in the air conditioning.
it's
We're
overcast,
swimming.
and we're bowing down to whatever God will listen to just send us.
Okay, so I found the period of time when they stopped doing the TV sign-ons and sign-offs. It says here the practice ceased around 1996.
Wow.
Does that
Oh.
sound accurate to y'all?
About that.
Well, by that time, I was
yeah.
watching nothing but cable. So
Yeah.
I have no
I was-
recollection
I was
of
in the infomercials
TV
and
doing that, but
Yeah.
late
maybe.
night Monster Vision with TNT and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
But
uh,
speaking of cringy things TVs does in your local area, I don't want to be too political, but I'm going to make a joke. Maybe the most frightening thing in the movie is Craig T. Nelson's reading the Ronald Reagan book.
Oh.
well, but that's pure 80s right there.
I know, right?
Very clearly.
they're also clearly from the 60s.
Yeah.
They
60s,
yeah.
70s
They're
generation
smoking
because
some
they're
reefer in
rolling up.
bed.
They're
Yeah.
rolling
They-
up.
Actually,
in
I
bed.
wanted
They
to
are
find a way to
that demographic.
But they're like
So,
my
maybe
they're like
Ronald
my
Reagan
parents.
played
My
a bigger
parents are
role in
like
that movie.
conservative, but like my parents are conservative, but they grew up in that era, so I could imagine them probably like smoking a doobie out on the porch, and then like turn around and be like, "Well, we got to vote, Republican," which is kind of gross. But, I love you, Mom and Dad. I know they're not going to listen to this, but
Oh, now that you said it.
yeah, now that I said it,
Now
my
this
mom
is
will
the
be like-
one.
My
Jake's-
mom will be like, I think I need to support you now. I'm going to listen to this episode and be like, oh.
And
Fine,
then she's
it's gonna
going to
be
call
so
you and you're
disappointing.
grounded.
Yeah, I'm going to be
Mhm,
grounded.
mhm.
even though
Oh,
I'm
well,
40.
I mean, it's my family wasn't better. Like I always kind of say this, just because black people check off D on the voting ballot does not make them progressive.
Right.
Well, there's a lot of Democrats that aren't progressive, and
Yeah.
usually because they were raised to vote Democrat because their mom or grandma told them to vote Democrat.
Not just that. It's like a lot of a lot of them were still in like that. Gays are bad and shit. But
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of my family isn't with me anymore, so that's I would. Oh God, I am just sticking my foot in my mouth. But yeah, I think it's just the point I was getting is it's a lot of it is the East Texas mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if
It's not much
you're-
better down here in Florida.
Yeah, you
Oh,
guys are almost just as crazy as Texas.
No. We're equally crazy, but Florida has certain laws that allow those stories to be more publicized. So that's why
Yep.
the Florida man trope exists.
Yep.
But Texas also has those issues.
Oh yeah, Texas.
Oh,
has-
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Texas. Man.
Oh yeah, Dallas is like DFW can be a mess.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're behind the pine curtain, like we're in enemy territory, smack. So we're like gorillas, and
Oh, yeah. We're
yeah.
super
Anyway,
rebel.
But where will I find the mist? Sorry.
anyway,
No, you're
back
good.
to Poltergeist.
And-
Yeah.
Okay, so
I always thought that was
So
funny.
Poltergeist, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the idea
Yeah.
with Ronald Reagan playing a larger role than we initially thought in Poltergeist, I think is great.
Yes.
Set up Craig T. Nelson's whole character.
Love that. And I really wanted to actually talk about the comedy in horror movies, not just Poltergeist, but we can start there. What are some of the most humorous moments, the funniest parts of Poltergeist to y'all?
Well, the main thing is the bedroom scene where they open up and everything. But the scene at the kitchen table is still the funniest scene where they're
Yeah.
like,
stack the
we
chairs.
can't explain right away if a house is haunted, and then the coffee pot just floats away.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And the guy
just
tries to take the picture.
I
Yeah,
don't
that
know
was
what
great.
it is, but maybe it's because my first horror movie was Young Frankenstein, but humor and horror, two sides of the same coin. I just love that inversion of expectation.
Well, and you need
we-
that
we
kind
can-
of levity in a horror movie, or it just becomes torture porn, basically.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Which
really
is
they
a
are
lot
kind of
what-
the same. They are kind of the same structure, just executed differently. Like the setup for a
Mhm.
joke is the
Yeah.
same as a setup for a scare. Like
Yeah, there's anticipation and suspense.
Well, look
There's
at okay, like E.T. is a really sweet movie. Like, but again, this movie, it's really sweet underneath all the horror and the gore because it is about family and.
Mhm.
well, yeah, Joe Beth
again,
Williams'
just-
character, she's gonna do whatever it takes to get her kid back, right?
Yeah,
Of
yeah,
course.
and I like in the second film he becomes kind of an alcoholic from the stress and everything. He quits his job and they move in with her mother, I guess. But in this film, he puts work off. He does. He goes and talks to those people. He's like, look, the parapsychologist.
Yeah.
And he's, instead of shunning it like you'd see in other films where the husband is like, "Oh, well, honey, you're being crazy, and
You're being
this is
hysterical.
yeah, you're being hysterical. This is a lot of hooey before something really tragic happens." No, he when he becomes fully supportive and he dives into it and he's like, "What's going on?" I believe
he is
in
kind of being a
That
dick to
one.
Zelda Rubinstein though when she shows up.
right. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
To be fair, I probably would too, just for the skepticism.
yeah.
because there's
I just say face.
if you watch James Randi, if you've ever heard of the dude, and you see some of his stuff where, sorry guys, where he debunks, a lot of that stuff. I'm not saying that there's not really anything like that out there because I try not to be completely skeptical, but because a part of me,
I think
part of me wants to believe. My dog, man. Okay, go ahead. I'll finish this story later.
actually going back to funny parts. To me, it was when they Robbie's looking at the clown and just says, "Fuck this," and tosses a blanket on top of it. That was a funny part to me.
I mean, why would they put the clown right there looking at you while you're sleeping? That's just a horrible placement for that thing.
Why give him a clown?
I don't think there's a very good place for that clown. Period.
No, not at all. And speaking of just kind of when they open the kids' room with all the stuff floating around, even though he wasn't an established director, doesn't that feel like very Sam Raimi a little bit too?
No, there
Very
isn't.
much. A lot of the stop motion was very Sam Raimi.
I think we have the Incredible Hulk riding a horse
Oh God!
in there.
I think he was riding Battle Cat too.
Oh,
I could be
Floating
wrong.
in the check.
Again, this goes back to ET, but
Yeah.
again, I can imagine he and Elliot being
yeah.
friends over their love
yeah.
of Star Wars, because I love that they planted Star Wars stuff in there, because he and Lucas are like they're really good friends, and I love they critique each other's movies.
Yeah.
And they visit each other's sets, and they remind me of my best friend, which is really cool.
I don't know. Maybe Spielberg could have given him a few more notes during the prequels. Don't you think?
Nah, prequels are fine. I'll defend those all day.
I love the prequels, man.
The prequels are okay. The prequels are okay. I think
they had their issues, just like every other movie, but they came out at a time in my life where I just ate them up, and I loved them, and I have a huge collection of the Episode 1 toys, which I absolutely love, and I will die on that hill, man.
I was put on the local news for being first in line at the Toys R Us for the very first Force Friday.
I saw that article you posted, man, and that's pretty cool. I love that. So,
I will say this.
I will say this: the Yoda fight scene pretty much saved Episode 2. I think.
I took a pilgrimage to after I watched Fanboys. We were closing down our comic book shop, and I was depressed, so I kept that movie on repeat because it was the only thing that could cheer me up, because I love that movie. And I was like, you know what? Why can't I go on my own pilgrimage? So I ended up getting in touch with a lady who I hope we get to do an interview here with soon. I've been putting it off, but she was the secretary at Industrial Light and Magic, and she invited us up, so we got to take a tour and do ILM and all of that, and then we ended up going up a year later and seeing the ranch, but Skywalker Ranch, and it was beautiful. I will anyway. But it's no. Go ahead.
I wanted to go back. I wanted to touch again on the filmmaker connections. There was a couple things I recently noticed in Poltergeist that I just haven't noticed before. One was Robbie has an Alien poster in his room, and I'm like, wow, he's like 6 years old. He has an Alien poster. This kid is me. But also,
I'm wearing a Blade Runner shirt while you mentioned Alien.
Alien. It's like Well, there were alien toys coming out around that time. Like, I always joked that the 80s was this magical time when hard R movies were marketed to kids.
Yeah, we had Rambo toys and RoboCop
Terminator
toys.
Yes.
toys.
Dude, I had
Terminator,
so
yeah.
many aliens and I had a couple of aliens and predators and like Terminator toys.
Oh God, the whole
But my parents would
Alien
bring
versus
that
Predator was a
stuff.
thing like a decade before the movie came out. There were Alien versus Predator toys. There were Alien versus Predator comic books.
Yeah,
Alien
I remember
versus
the comic
Predator
came out.
video games.
Right.
Also, there's I don't know if you guys noticed the Kubrick connection in this movie. There's two Kubrick connections in Poltergeist. At the very beginning, where Carol Ann's talking to the TV clock is always set to 2:37, which was the room in the movie in The
nice.
Shining. But also at the very end, when they're at the motel or the Holiday Inn, the camera pulls back, and the last room you see is room 217, which was the room in the Shining book.
In the book, yeah.
So
Nice.
I don't know if that's like just a coincidence or what.
That's interesting because also Spielberg and Kubrick were friends, even though their sensibilities and the type of stories they tell are completely different.
Yeah, I mean, he
Right,
left AI to him in his will. So
Well, yeah.
Do we also think this movie's a parable about being like addicted too much to like television and technology?
I was not thinking that.
it is now.
Yeah.
But I thought it was more of a commentary on how the suburbs were. It's like the building, because I think the suburbs, especially around that area in California, were just becoming a thing, and they were, and of course, the whole building houses on graveyards. It's like I thought Poltergeist was more of a commentary on that.
I mean, yeah, we can even see that even more so today with more, not just housing divisions built, but like, shopping centers and places with stores. And you're seeing more and more wildlife being noticed in the middle of town because we're encroaching on their land.
Yeah.
Oh, there is a housing development that is right outside, that is being built right outside my apartment.
Yeah, it's gentrification all over the place, and it's getting ridiculous. We need to start building up, not out.
Like the Jetsons.
Yeah, well, it's like Singapore. Singapore's starting to go self-sustaining with their buildings. They're doing, natural gardens in all their buildings and keeping the air fresh, and they're going up and up and up. And us in America, we're becoming a third world country.
Well, yeah, it's.
But I see this movie as a way of Steven Spielberg telling, like, even in the hardest of times, a tight-knit family will always be there for each other, and it shows in every aspect. In the beginning, they're just a regular family who's always arguing, but they're always like happy and stuff. And even when Robbie's being eaten by the tree, they're all there for him. And then they go and they're all there to try to save Carol Ann, and everybody's just there except Dana. Dana doesn't do anything but scream.
Yeah.
And it's mostly not in the movie. Like, she's,
she's hanging out at her friend's place or away. So
Yeah.
I did
Well,
notice
you
that
notice a couple of hickeys on her neck.
And when she comes back, is it the worst part? Well, worst part for the family.
Breaks loose.
Yeah. Hard agree, though. This is definitely a story about family and probably very much a commentary on suburban growth or housing development, reckless housing development.
So if it's a story about family, does that make it the
when it
first
cuts
Fast and Furious movie?
The television.
All right, now we need a Poltergeist 4/Fast 10, and the ghosts are coming. Vin Diesel rolls up.
No.
We just
and
get
his
James
Dodge
Wan to come
Charger.
back. We'll get James Wan to come back as a director. It'll be fine.
Well, I mean, we've already had Stephen King's Christine.
That's
Why
true.
not?
We'll have Christine involved.
There you go.
Oh,
Get John
God.
Carpenter
Christine
to score
makes
it.
a cameo appearance.
Speaking of John Carpenter, I know that the
I think
remake
the
of
technology
Firestarter is not that great, but the
Yeah.
score is fantastic.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny though? He got to do the score because he was
With-
supposed
He was
to direct the original, but they fired him because of the thing flopping.
Yep.
Oh,
And it's now one of the greatest movies that's ever been made
yeah.
in 1982.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of the flops in 1982 are pretty much heralded as major landmarks in cinema. That's kind of why I suggested doing this whole retrospective.
That's why I'm
Like-
making the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about your movie, Adam. Is one of the reasons I wanted to have you on as a guest since we're doing this series.
Yeah, I've for 30 or so years I've been obsessed with the movies of 1982 because of just how many of them are classics or how they have shaped pop culture still to this day. And I woke up one Saturday, I'm like, I'm going to make a movie about this. And it was after on my podcast we interviewed the director David Weiner from, he did In Search of Darkness and In Search of Tomorrow, the 4-hour 80s horror and 80s sci-fi documentaries. And I'm like, I could do that, but I just want to talk about 1982. So I started. I've got a echo now. This is fun. I started thinking I can make a movie about this. I can go month to month of all the movies, and I ended up with, I think now I'm up to 78 movies that I want to cover for 1982.
Wow.
And how they molded us into the pop culture we know today, and how it was the most influential year in pop culture cinema, and not just stuff like Blade Runner and The Thing. I mean, there's stuff like Friday the 13th Part 3. That's the influential movie in the Friday the 13th series. Halloween Part 3. That's the crazy one that people either love or hate. And
It rules. I'm just gonna say it
Yeah.
rules.
and you also have things like Tootsie, which is the epitome of the highest form of screenwriting. It's still used in screenwriting courses today as the perfect script. And little things like that people don't know. A Beastmaster. I mean, come on, we got to talk about Beastmaster and animated stuff like the Dark
Beastmaster
Crystal.
messed me up.
Well, I grew up with Beastmaster.
And I want to go into musicals too. You've got Annie, you've got Tootsie, or not Tootsie. You got Annie, you've got Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. You have little things like that, and you have cult movies like Basket Case.
So,
I mean, I could talk about 1982 movies till I'm blue
Let's
in the
not
face.
forget the Star Trek franchise constantly trying to recapture the magic of Wrath of Khan.
Yep.
That's right. Wrath of Khan was a big release.
Is one of the reasons Stephen King turned this down was because he was working on a film that did come out in 1982 as well, Creepshow.
Probably.
He was on a flight to Europe for something, and when he got the idea, or when he got the message that Steven wanted to have a collaboration with him, he's like, I just don't have time now. You should have asked me like a week ago, and we could have worked on something. But all because of those damn airplanes without cell phones in the 80s.
Yeah.
Well,
Had a
I know
scarier movie.
Spielberg was attached to produce The Talisman. I don't know if he's actually involved any in the Netflix film The Duffer Brothers are supposed to be doing, though.
I don't know.
Oh, actually, I know. Well, kind of speaking of the Duffer Brothers, I know that Stranger Things was supposed to be an anthology. Like the first season, that was just supposed to be that story, and they were just going to go into other stories, but it just turned out to be so popular that they just expanded it. I'm kind of looking forward to what the Duffer Brothers are going to be putting out. Once Stranger Things is finally completed.
Well,
I think-
I would recommend watching. I forget which one she's married to, but one of their wives did the whole Fear Street trilogy that was on Netflix last year. I would recommend watching those. Those was actually pretty solid movies.
Yeah, those were good. I think the Duffer Brothers would be it would be dumb if they didn't connect with Blumhouse and just start making their own extreme movies, really.
I think we lost Treya.
Oh,
Yeah, she said she has connection issues.
Yeah.
What else do we want to talk about this movie, or why we like this movie, or why we think this movie has sustained a 40-year existence, like why it's still kind of considered. I think it's a great like starter horror movie for someone who maybe isn't into horror movies. This is like one to kind of get you into it.
right.
'Cause
It is. And Joe Bob Briggs has said that it's a safe horror movie because it's got that Spielberg glow to it. Like no matter how bad the situation is, there's always going to be a breather room, and it's very accessible to families because that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to make a scary, fun movie for families.
Also, I kind of wanted to point out, like this, there are no fatalities in the original Poltergeist.
There's
Like-
one, the bird.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And not
All right,
only
Trey,
does
get
that
back to
bird
this.
die, the
Oh,
dog tries to
oh.
eat it, and then those creepy construction workers bring it up when they're building the pool. And is one of those guys from Predator?
Yes, Sonny Liston.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Where who they had to have now this is rumor. I don't know if this is true. Adam, you might know, is that he had to have bodyguards to protect the crew from him. Like apparently he was that out of control, or
I seem to remember something like that. I don't know.
yeah, like so. I don't know. Apparently he was very volatile, and I don't know, but it was weird. It was a weird scene. It was gross, compared to today. They were hitting on a 15, 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
These are
that's
30,
gross.
40-year-old construction dudes.
And the mom is just kind of like, oh, creepy construction guys. My daughter told them to F off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I could see where she laughed at her giving them the bird, but it was like if I were that parent, I would have been up someone's rear end with my boot. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
where was
Drea-
Craig T.
Drea,
Nelson
you had
there?
something to say?
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Drea,
yeah,
you
I
with
think
us?
it's just it's a very accessible movie to everyone. It's like
Like
I said, it's a very good starter horror movie, and it was for me. And
Yeah.
I moved on to the Alien series after that. So it's just it's great, and it's got a lot of underlying things that I've just recently noticed. Like watching it again, I've noticed in the intro thing where they're just showing the neighborhood. All of the trees are these overbearing leafless trees, like the one in the backyard, and it's almost like a precursor to the danger lurking over them, because all the kids are always playing under these leafless trees, and the only other time you see them are in the cemetery. And I don't know, I kind of get philosophical with
And they
movies like
feel out of place of this like California suburban neighborhood. Even when he's showing one of the houses to a couple, and the guy's like, all these houses look the same. And then you got like these ancient Tim Burton looking trees.
Yeah. There's
Right.
one in like the middle of the neighborhood, and it just
Yeah.
looks like it's superimposed in there. It's ridiculous.
Also, just two sidebars I noticed from this movie. One, I don't know if anyone can vouch this with Antenna TV because I can't remember from that long ago, but could you control your neighbor's TV?
Oh,
Again, I saw that as another precursor to what's going to happen with there's everything being controlled by an outside force.
Right.
Right.
I went way too deep into this.
But why did that one guy not just walk or get in his car to go get the beer? Why did he ride
Right.
a little kid's bike?
He rode a
Leslie
BMX bike.
said the same thing. It was like, he's an adult. He could drive that beer over here. Like,
Or he could have walked to the convenience store, and the beer would have been in better shape, right? He would have had better
this is
control
older,
over
you
it.
know, look at the TV that they're watching, which I have one, by the way, for my Atari and Nintendo. But look at the box TV that they're watching sports on. So him trying to like take the fastest route is understandable. Like, I'm not a sports guy, but you can put yourself in his
that sounds
place.
like drunk reasoning. Like, I'm too drunk to drive. I'll just use this bicycle
Yeah, maybe he
Oh,
and wreck my shit in the driveway.
But was it responsible or wasn't it? That's the mystery. We will never.
Again, I see it as a deliberate thing to show that there's a childlike connection in this movie. When you first see him, you see him from above, and it looks like a kid riding a bike, and then it comes in and it's this adult, and it's just like, we don't know what we're in for. We have this family movie. It's safe. This guy is funny. Just hold on, and we're gonna establish everything, and then we're going to rock you completely, because he's like the comic relief of that scene, because of the kids with their remote control car, and then he busts in on the back door, and he's like, oh my goodness. And yeah, so
yeah.
again, I read too deep into things sometimes.
Well, I also think, not that, the parallels between this and E.T. and Spielberg being involved, and they're both taking place in the suburb. It's interesting that E.T. is a story about a broken family and Spielberg dealing with his daddy issues, and maybe because of this being a horror film and what they have to deal with, this being like, especially even in the 80s, what is considered like the typical family unit.
Nuclear families.
Yeah. With back to the Reagan book. Yeah.
But
well, yeah, I guess, if that kind of wraps it up, we've discussed everything from the soundtrack to the.
I just want to say that Joe Beth Williams does a great job in this movie.
Joe Beth Williams was hot as hell in this movie too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also,
even
as
with
far
the gray
as,
streak.
Yeah,
as
I
far as
actually
the
kind of dig the
whole
gray
is
streak.
the franchise goes, first installment wins. Poltergeist is the best out of all of them.
Number 2 is not bad. I mean, you do have the H.R. Giger creatures, and you have Julian Beck on his final role, but
right.
There's a special place in my heart for part 2.
I do. I like all of them, to be honest. Like, again, like the first one is the best. Again, the second one has a special place. I love the old preacher gentleman, because we have a lot of those around East Texas.
Reverend Kane.
I just watched it for the first time yesterday, and it's decent, for a sequel. It's definitely missing Spielberg and Hooper's quality of work, but for a horror sequel, it's not horrible. I mean, the Native American stuff is not great, but
that has aged like milk.
The tequila worm always got me. Like, that was the scene that always stood out to me. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch it. You'll get it. I don't want to spoil anything else, but I always thought part 2 was great. 3 is what I call a big dumb fun popcorn movie. I like it. As far
did
as
nobody else want to come back for 3? Is that why it's just Heather O'Rourke and Zelda?
I think so.
Yeah, I believe so. That they did. Shudder has a show called Cursed Films, and they did one. It was supposed to be on Poltergeist, but it was mainly Poltergeist 3, and it was heartbreaking watching the director just talk about Heather O'Rourke's last days of shooting and stuff, and how they had to shoot around her death. So it's just a movie. I'm amazed that it came out the way it did. It could have been a lot worse or not come out at all. So
that's
Well, Adam, Drea,
Yeah.
thank you both for coming on the show and talking about this seminal horror classic
Yeah.
that is still talked about and is still considered one of
Because
the
what
best.
was it exactly?
Try it again.
Was it Heather O'Rourke you're talking about?
I think there's more connect.
Oh, she had a operation that didn't need to happen. She was misdiagnosed, and it.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. It was exactly that had caused her death.
It was sepsis.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah,
All right.
it was an internal thing
Thank
due to
you so much
botched
for
surgery.
having me on.
Oh,
I apologize for spotty connections,
not
but
your fault.
I'm so
It
happy to be
happens.
here.
And you're welcome back anytime on the brunch show or our main show if you want to talk a movie.
Exactly.
Thank you for having me on too. I mean, this is
Yes.
Oh,
fun.
yeah.
Adam,
Absolutely.
you're
Thanks
also
for coming.
yeah. If there's anything else you want to collaborate on or do, please hit us up. And I know we talked about it earlier, but please check out his 1982 the movie that he is wanting to do. Donate if you can.
If you can, even if it's just a good luck. I don't. That's as much as we expect.
And we do. We wish you the best of luck, Adam, because I really want to see this. I try to be supportive wherever I can. Please share. Feel free to share anything on Videos for Rejects. To
I do. I plug the hell out of myself on.
Yeah, and that's totally fine.
That's
Just
fine.
do what you do. I know, again, we're an amateur page. We do what we do, but we'll always be supportive and just feel free to plug your movie anytime you can.
I appreciate that. And if you want to find out more about the movie, or if you want to find out more about me just rambling on about movies, go to cinemadnesspodcast.com and it's all there, including the movie stuff. So thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. It was nice to finally meet you, and I wish you the best of luck on this really cool documentary you're doing.
Thank you so much.
And as always, it is a pleasure to be here and discussing this movie with y'all as usual.
Yeah, you're becoming quite the regular, Nick. So just.
Maybe it's Steve Martin or Phil Hartman.
Yeah. So what are we doing next week, Cody?
Next week, you're gonna love it, Chris. We're talking Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
I gotta be there.
And we'll have a guest for that show too.
I'm just throwing this out there. If anyone would like to do a watch party for the director's cut, hit me up. Maybe we could throw it up one night, and I know we can do it on StreamYard. I can play the movie and we can all commentary, whatever. But if anyone is interested, let me know, and maybe we can set something up maybe next Friday night or Saturday.
The talking bubble has spoken.
Yeah. So I'm just throwing out a last minute, but I wouldn't mind watching it with like-minded people, and if anyone is interested, let me know, and we'll set it up.
I'm gonna shout out whoever this viewer was, Marina Rocks. She watched a little bit and commented. Might be one of your Oregon people, Adam. I don't know.
Cool, thank you.
So if we get an increase of Oregon viewers for this episode, hey Oregon, thank you.
And let me know who you are and how you found us, because I have no idea.
Well, thank you guys so much. And now, Cody, are we doing anything else? I mean, we do
not this week. Next week, we are going back and talking a Ridley Scott film. We are talking maybe the much disappointed or guilty pleasure sequel to Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal.
Oh, Hannibal.
Yeah, I do.
Ridley Scott's my hero, so
I like Hannibal, so
I don't dislike it either, but I know that it's a not much beloved movie. But there
right.
are
I'm a sucker for Red Dragon. I really love that movie.
well, I like Hannibal better than Red Dragon, but I may be putting my own prejudice against Brett Ratner onto Red Dragon.
See, I've only seen the original Silence of the Lambs, and then I watched the Hannibal TV show. I have
Well,
not.
that's amazing.
Yeah, I've not watched
Yeah.
the third season, which is.
And don't forget Manhunter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Manhunter rules, even though it is very 80s.
Yeah, well, it was Michael Mann, right? He did.
Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely his style too.
Mm-hmm.
And just the incredible performance by Tom Noonan. Tom Noonan just never disappoints.
Yeah,
also, really quick, I may or may not be doing an impromptu show for Independence Day for July 4th. I'm not a huge. We do not really celebrate. I mean, we sit at home and watch Independence Day director's cut. I'm a sucker, guys. Sorry, but we watch that and we watch a few other movies. I may or may not do a show if anyone is interested in maybe doing a quick. What do we think about these movies? I
I
might
may
be
break out a
interested.
beer and talk about it with you because, I mean, when that movie came out, it was huge.
Yes, I'm
They
a
originally
sucker.
were gonna-
on the,
Like, they kept bumping up the release date because it was supposed to come out July 4th when they were making it. Then they switched it to July 3rd, and then the week it was supposed to come out, they says, now we're coming out with it a day early, and my rinky-dink theater didn't get the movie until freaking August.
oh no, I remember
Yeah.
seeing it on the 4th. Like we didn't. That's that was our thing. Like my parents took us. It was amazing. But anyway, if anyone's interested, let me know, and we might do a little pop-up show for that. So. But anyway,
I'm interested.
okay.
Well,
Well,
for right now, I need caffeine.
right.
Well, thank you all. Adam, thanks again for coming on our show. Everybody, thank
Sure.
you for moving this a day up because I have family plans tomorrow, and my wife probably would have been mad at me if I was in the middle of podcasting and she's like, we got to be in Jacksonville by 12:30. I'm like, well, I guess I better do this on Friday then.
Right.
All right. Yeah.
All right,
plans
guys.
here. Maybe make some ribs in the crock pot, but that's about it.
Well, it's my baby's birthday, so my little girl's birthday, so we're gonna go do some birthday stuff.
Buttercup?
Buttercup, yes.
Yes.
Buttercup.
I just sit here and edit, so I'm not moving.
Well, thank you guys. You guys enjoy your holiday weekend. I know it may not be a time you want to feel like celebrating America right now, but just find the things
that's
that
why-
bring you joy in life.
That's
We
why
can
we watch
celebrate
Independence-
anarchy in the same way.
That's why we watch
Exactly.
Independence
I'll celebrate
Day.
it by
because
punching a Nazi
aliens
in the
wipe
face.
out, most
Always.
of America. Yeah.
That's always quality entertainment. Maybe that's
Right.
why I like Inglourious Bastards so much. It's just,
Yeah.
punching Nazis nonstop.
Right.
All right. Thanks,
Right.
guys. Adam, thank you so much again for agreeing to come on the show.
Thanks
and
for
talk
having
this
me.
movie with us. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right. And thanks anyone who watched. Marina, thank you for watching. And this will be on Facebook and Twitter later. And is everybody okay with being tagged? If
Yes,
I tag you on
absolutely.
Twitter?
Cool.
All right.
Yes, please.
All right. Great.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.